I think the most valuable step that I've taken in franchise is networking. You can read a million books about franchise. You can go to the conferences by all means. I think seek out those franchisors that align with the values of your business and talk to them about how do you keep your values while franchising.
We are live. Jason, welcome to the show. I'm super excited to talk to you today, talk about the story of Haven and what you guys are up to. It's also, from what we discussed, you guys have some exciting new things in development. So for the folks that are here maybe on the West Coast that haven't heard about you guys, tell us a little bit about how you got into this crazy business and what is Haven all about?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for having me. A Haven Hot Chicken is Connecticut's first Nashville hot chicken concept. We make spicy, crispy, delicious chicken. We actually call it CCJSD, crispy, crunchy, spicy, juicy, delicious. And we are a group of 4 startup entrepreneurs from various backgrounds, but all coming from a lot of fine dining, mostly, and then some corporate, that got together and said, we would like to start a Nashville hot chicken concept back in 2018. 19, we did a ton of testing, pop-ups throughout New Haven, Connecticut at different businesses. They did really well, but definitely a proof that, the market was ready for something like this. And there was nothing like it around here. And then the pandemic hit and we pivoted our idea to go from more of a fast casual sit down spot to a QSR, quick service, no seats. Our first 001 in New Haven, that's our first store, opened up October 2020. And we didn't even let anybody in the shop. It was all online and curbside. It was pretty fun.
Wow. That is a great time to start a business. I'm sure that you did not expect it, and the fact that you guys were able to pivot and here to tell the story is fantastic. In those first 2 years, this is where as I've talked to tons and tons of founders, whether it's, technology companies, restaurant owners, even people that are in the franchising business, those first 2 years are crucial. I think that's what sets the people that survive and the people that thrive. And in those first 2 years, what were some of those unique challenges, and how did you guys overcome those unique challenges in those first couple of years of the business?
Yeah, the first 2 years are absolutely the hardest. Not that year 3 is easier in any way, but the first 2 years really laid the work of how are we interacting with our guests? What is our product really looking like? How are we improving that product? How are we improving our hospitality? How are we improving our business, cost of goods, labor, prime cost? That's what we really honed in on in this first 2 years. So we didn't open up our second unit basically until we were about 2 years old. And then we opened our second store because we just weren't ready. And we knew that, and we wanted to get to a place where we could scale and then scale quickly. One interesting story was we use halal chicken. None of us are actually Muslim, but we did a pop-up at a Indian restaurant and they asked us to please use halal chicken. And Rob, who's our culinary lead, fell in love with halal chicken. The cleanliness, the quality, the consistency. He's like, we're going to use halal chicken. I was like, great, let's use halal chicken. Our first year of operation, we saw almost a 15% decrease in sales in April.
Interesting. Yep.
And we had no
Ramadan,
idea
right?
why. Ramadan. Yep. We were uninformed and we were closing at that point. We were closing at 8 p.m. and 8 p.m. is not open late for people
Not
to
at all.
come and eat during Ramadan because they have to wait until after the sun goes down. The following year, we had a Muslim advisor. And so we knew, and we actually increased sales by almost 20% in April because of Ramadan. After that 8 p.m. timeline, we stayed open until 10. We advertised that we were open and that we were halal, and everything came together really nicely. So I think it's really about failing forward and learning from those failures and making sure that every little failure is an opportunity to improve rather than to beat yourself up that you didn't know something that you could not possibly have known.
Got it. And tell me, another thing I'm always curious about is how the team dynamic evolves over time. So you guys have a group of really strong operators, people that have been in the industry, fine dining operations. How did you guys in those initial years come together and each found their own place in the kitchen? And where do you guys stand today? How do you guys work together? What is that dynamic like between the founding team and yourself?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, you mentioned our place in the kitchen. I think one of the things that we learned rather quickly was that there was not enough room for all of us to actually be in the kitchen or even be in one store all together. We had to divide and conquer. So Rob being Rob from Rob Sauce, he's our culinary lead. We really kept him in the actual kitchen, honing down on the recipes, simplifying them, systematizing them. Craig gravitated towards tech. He's our tech guy. And in the restaurant industry right now, tech is so important. And every day there's new tech that makes us more streamlined, more efficient, better just able to serve our guests, better able to serve our staff, and really up level our hospitality. And that's what Craig honed in on. As far as myself, I head up commercial. So I keep the brand. I make sure the colors are right, the tone is right, the product is what we say it is going to be, as well as help with social media, all aspects of in-house and out-of-house marketing. And then Ekin, who's our CEO and has a pretty decent corporate background. He worked for AB InBev for about 7 years. Prior to that, he actually worked for me at one of my restaurants. So that was pretty fun dynamic. He was really looking at overarching business development. We had to raise a bunch of funds in order to continue expansion, bring in advisors, dealing with legal. And so we all sort of found our lane. And I remember doing a big exercise where we all sort of put on sticky notes, what are you involved in? And we had multiple people in multiple lanes. And after that exercise, we were like, okay, Rob, you're going to only deal with this. Craig, you're only dealing with this. Ekin, Jason. And it made us more efficient. Now we still meet on a daily basis, almost too often, right? On an hourly basis, calls, check-ins, stand-ups. But we're out doing what we need to do. It limits that sort of analysis paralysis, that group think that is really positive, but also slows you down because I don't need to make all the decisions, and neither does Ekin or Craig or Rob. And here we are 4.5 years later. We've opened 9 stores. We're on the precipice of franchise where we have several very large multi-unit development areas that we're looking at. And we're all still very friendly. We try to go out together once a month and have dinner and be civilized human beings. And we're friends. And,
Good.
we send each other Instagram posts and texts about things that don't involve hot chicken all the time. And I think it's been a really great sort of relationship. I brought my brother in. He's doing chief development. Ekin brought in some folks from AB InBev that have really up leveled us. We've got a great corporate team, but like that core of folks has been able to work together and spend a ton of time together and not yet kill each other. So it's been pretty positive.
Listen, as someone that is running a small company at this point, it is a small group, but like the core founding members have all kind of found their own lane. I'm maybe similar to you where I go out and I talk to people and I put the brand out there and I'm trying to figure what the heck we're going to do. And then the CEO is doing his CEO things, mainly on the venture side of raising capital and finding strategic alliances and doing all of that. And then the CTO does have his own role in the company, maybe similar to your tech guy where he's heading that up because that's what truly drives his curiosity. That's what he's good at. And one thing that I've learned is there are areas where each of you guys are extremely passionate about and focused on. And if there's something that is so important to that person, let's say it's a new technology. We're going to move to one POS. Unless you guys can find a very strong case against it, let them have their way and make sure that, they're feeling emboldened to take that move. And if it is something that requires a lot of debate, then bring everyone to the table. But like, let people just cook and do their thing. Now, another thing I'm also very curious about is around those first couple franchise stores. I think that this is what's so important. Tell us about that process. A lot of my audience have actually gone through the process of getting that FDD, going to the trade shows, trying to figure out, going to IFA, what do we need to do? If you had to give operators some guidance on those first couple steps that you need to do in order to get your business franchise ready, what were some of those, I guess, initial things you had to get done before you moved into this direction?
I think the most valuable step that I've taken in franchise is networking. You can read a million books about franchise. You can go to the conferences, by all means. I think seek out those franchisors that align with the values of your business and talk to them about how do you keep your values while franchising. I remember we went to a conference and there was a pretty large concept. And one of the first things I asked the CEO, we were all on a panel and separately having drinks afterwards, is like, how do you franchise? How do you grow? How do you hand over the brand to someone else, even though they're a great operator, but how do you ensure that they're going to uphold your values, quality, hospitality? I need to make sure that that's number one. And this particular CEO said, you're going to have to let go of some of that. You're going to have to take some concessions on some of the things that you feel are really important because you're selling them your IP, your brand, process, but it is their business and they're going to run it. And I decided that person would not be a mentor of mine. Because I completely disagreed. And that's fine, right? But I talked to plenty of other franchisors that said, when you're talking to potential franchise partners, owners, they're going to come in and be part of your brand. Don't align on financials first. Align on values. What are their values? How do they run their business? How clean are their dining rooms and their back of the house? Talk to their employees. Do they respect the owner? Are they excited to go into work? Like if those are things that are important to your business, you better make sure that they're doing it right now. So currently I am not going after individuals who don't operate restaurants at the moment, and especially individuals that don't operate multi-unit restaurant systems. I am looking for operators who understand this is a brand. They have an ethos, they have guidelines, they have recipes, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to run that system and I'm going to crush it. That doesn't mean I don't want to improve, and I don't want these new operators, franchisees, to give suggestions or make improvements, but let's make sure that we align on our brand values first and foremost. For us, it's relentless, it's humble, it's joy, it's positivity. Like, these are things that we really, really care about. We want people to want to improve on a daily basis, and it's quality and hospitality all day. Quality hospitality, like, beat into you and into your soul. We don't have customers, we have guests. And if you don't speak our language and you don't necessarily agree with everything I've said, then we're probably not a good fit. And I think that was the biggest lesson I learned. Yeah, you have to make complexity has to be reduced, scalability has to go up, but align on brand values first and foremost.
I love it. I've
never done this before, so take my advice.
No, for sure. I mean, totally. And also as the brand matures, things change, and you might, I've seen so many different companies that have messed up on the franchising side of things by rushing too quickly to scale and bringing in operators that really do just kind of run their business as a portfolio of different cash flow, at least hopefully cash flow positive businesses. And unfortunately, what that hurts is it hurts the growing franchisor. It might not hurt the operator because they can go and find another business and invest somewhere else, but it hurts you. It hurts the person that is trying to build a brand that goes beyond Connecticut, that goes across the US. And I'm super curious to see, like, you guys are in the early stages now. I'm sure you have to be extremely selective about the people that you bring in because they're going to be the icons of your brand. On that note, what do you do for your discovery day? How do you, I've talked to some smaller franchisors that literally just fly them out and just shoot the shit, play golf and try to connect on a human to human level. What do you do to vet people? And are there any sort of questions or any sort of dialogues that you like to have in order to truly reveal if they align on your values?
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic question. So I'll give you an example. We had high interest from a franchisee down in North Carolina. My brother and I flew down, checked out his existing stores of his current concept, spent the day driving around, looked at all of his stores, interviewed a bunch of his staff, talked to his operations manager. We even told him that we were going to come down and surprise him. But we ended up letting him know we were coming because, so.
You have to.
But then step was we had him fly up and stay a couple days with us. And even though this guy is not going to be in the back of the house making chicken, we put the full polo hat. We put him in for an 8-hour shift and we showed him how to Haven. By the end of the day, he was head to toe covered in flour. We put pictures of his chicken because we do this on Slack all the time, store to store, like show us what you've made. We put pictures of his chicken on Slack and said, hey, 9 different stores. This is John. He's looking to become a franchise operator partner with us. Rate his chicken. And everybody jumped in like, oh, it looks pretty good. A little razzle-dazzle to him. Like, oh, I see a little bald spot over there. And then being in New Haven, we took him to Sally's and we went out for pizza. And we just really got to know him. Tell us about your kids. Tell us about your spouse. Tell us about your aspirations. How do we align on values? I know that his current concept aligns value-wise with Haven Hot Chicken, but I wanted to make sure that he aligned value-wise. So I asked him, tell me more about the philanthropic endeavors you do in your mile, own your mile, sort of your area that bring guests in. How would you do that with Haven Hot Chicken? And he started rattling off, do this and do this. And it's kind of like, right?
Right.
I don't want to partner with someone that I wouldn't enjoy sitting at Sally's and taking down like 4 pies and a pitcher of beer, for 3 hours. If we can't get through that and feel friendly, I don't think that we're going to be successful. I mean, we're at the groundbreaking right now, franchise, and we have to make sure that these partner operators, I don't even like the word franchisee. These are business partners and operators. Just like the GMs in our stores that run our current corporate stores, they are operators and frankly, they're owners because we cut them in with equity. These guys are going to have equity in their own stores as well, obviously. So I don't see those two as any different. So I would talk to them the same as I would talk to our GMs. Am I comfortable with critiquing them? Am I comfortable giving them advice? Am I comfortable hearing critiques on our business from their side? I think that's really important too. All of that is what we do. And I think for us at this point, it does come down to some gut. Obviously, if you want to be a franchisee in any system, you have to be qualified business-wise, financially. You have to be in the right space. You have to understand how to hire and fire, deploy, etc. All those things are fairly quantifiable. I want to know the human being behind the business to make sure that really jives with what we're looking to do.
You talked a lot about the values, and before talking with you today, I went on your website and I scanned through your about page and I saw your page on philanthropy. And also just speaking about values for this entire episode, it seems like that is something that is really top of mind for you, especially early on as you're codifying all these things. How did you and your team come up with these values? How did you guys find a word or a phrase or even a dialogue to kind of codify what you want to grow Hut Haven to?
That's a great question. And it was like 5 years ago, but we knew that at the very start of this, we wanted to define our values. Our values are what we base all of our decisions on. And so we really wanted, frankly, I think we have too many. We have 7 of them. And so we're always talking about, oh, we're going to hone them down and we're going to, distill them. Talking about distilling our values for 4 years. We set them up about 5 years ago. We really put our aspirations together and said, what do we want to build here? Because Ekin came to me and, like I said, he had worked for me. He was a manager of one of my restaurants way back when he was a Yale undergrad student. And he did an amazing job, worked for me for about a year. And we stayed in touch. And he asked me, he said, listen, I have 2 guys and I want to do a Nashville hot chicken concept. And I think you would be a fantastic addition to the business. And I said, absolutely not. I have no desire to do anything else. I've got a bunch of other businesses. I've got a bunch of kids at home. Ekin doesn't really take no for an answer. So he had me come and try the food, meet the guys, and then really get into what we want to do. And this was not to open a restaurant. This was to launch a brand and really go big, scale it. And in order to do that, you have to have a fantastic foundation and you have to have a set of values. You can call them principles, values, whatever you want to call them, but they have to be some sort of guiding light that when you come to a decision point, especially when there's 4 founders, you come to a decision point. I don't care about your effing opinion. I care about our values that we all aligned on 5 years ago. Why do we want to do this? We want to be good employers. We want to have fun. We want our teams and our guests to have fun. So joy, right? Positive joy. Teamwork is so important. It's what makes things fun at work. When you're working within a team, it's fun. Rigor, relentlessness. This is like digging into it and making sure that we're uncovering as many stones as we can, even though we're going, Mach 10. All of these things were different elements of the business that we said, this is how we want to operate. This is what we want to do. And now when we have a major decision, we bounce it off the values. Does this equate to what we set up to do originally? And how does it grow? And I think that even though we do have a lot of values, it's given us the opportunity to do what we want to do, but also grow within that idea. Still be malleable and nimble while still sticking to this set of values. I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes sense in my mind.
It does. I mean, it's something that comes from the founders, and it's a very good way to create a framework to decide on what step to take. I think oftentimes we're coming up with decisions and we can analyze something from a business standpoint, especially me as a finance person. I'm always thinking about, okay, what are the costs? Is this a profitable venture? But then you also need to align it back to why you're doing this in the first place. I would rather work with someone, maybe this is my naivete, but I'd rather work with someone that I enjoy working with, bringing on a new customer that I love and that I can see that they truly want our product and they're going to be fun to work with versus, how much money we're making from this person. And we're still a small company. You guys have been around since 2020. We've been around for about a year and a half at this point. And so we're in that process right now of kind of codifying those values. And whenever it usually comes, those values get codified after a very big debate, after a very uncomfortable discussion. And then we put it on Slack and we pin it. We're like, guys, that's a value. Make sure you remember that. So it makes sense what you said. Let's kind of fast forward in the next 3 years, 3 to 5 years. If I had a conversation with you in 3 to 5 years, what would you have liked to have accomplished in this 3 to 5 year time frame? And where do you see Haven in the next 3 to 5 years?
Total stratosphere, like explosive growth. In the next 3 to 5 years, I want to be in triple digits when it comes to store count.
It's aggressive.
And I'm very confident that we can do that with solid franchise partners. I would like to dominate the Northeast, Eastern Seaboard, especially. And I want to become a brand that's synonymous with really great quality and the best hospitality, which is an insane goal given that there's a chicken brand out there that is really well known for hospitality.
Who?
Except we'll be open on Sundays. So there you go.
That different competitor. I threw the who joke at you, but let's dive into the so I remember that from our last conversation. There's tons of competition, especially in this space. It's going to be exciting to see which brands are going to thrive and which brands are going to fortunately die. So I think you guys have a ton of work ahead of you, and I'm really excited to see where you guys go. Let's wrap this up with one last segment. I always like to ask inspiring people that have come on my show. You know, there's oftentimes someone in their life, whether it's a mentor, whether it's a partner, whether it's an employee, that has made an impact on their journey. You mind sharing with us who that person is and maybe some of those lessons that you learned from them?
Yeah. I'm gonna go with Nana. There's my grandmother on my mother's side. She got me into food. She got me into, I would say, even hospitality, because whenever you went over her house, and I was over there a lot, it was always about feeding you, but not just feeding you, like sitting you down, putting something in front of you that was delicious, and then talking to you, right? Like true hospitality, exceeding expectations in quality, in quantity, in just the amount of love that she would give. And I know you probably want like a business person.
No, I was going to say, everyone always brings up these heavy hitters. This is a good answer.
I have some epic advisors and mentors, and they have guided me business wise in so many amazing directions. And I would not be able to do what I do or be where I am at or be going to where I'm going without the help of like Scott Lawton from Bar Taco, Andy Forsheimer, just a legend in the industry. There's a gentleman named Paul Shapiro that I met over 20 years ago who has helped me with every business I've ever opened. My grandmother put me in this place. Like, she got me bit by the bug of cooking for people and feeding people. And it's not always rewarding. People can be awful. And I come from a kitchen background and then got out of the kitchen and front of the house. And then I went to Boston University and did gastronomy. I got a master's in gastronomy started by Jacques Pepin. I've cooked for Jacques in his home in Madison. I've had so many amazing experiences. And when I look back as to like how I got to where I am, it's definitely Nana. Nana got me so into food. She was Italian, first generation, and she would cook Chinese food. We would do dim sum nights. Like, she was just so eclectic in her love of food, cooking, serving, hosting, that she made that sort of, I don't know, it's just like deeply ingrained in me. She was also an entrepreneur. And I just think that that's where I got a lot of my entrepreneurial spirit and love of food and cooking and hospitality.
What a great answer. Jason, thank you so much for coming on, sharing this story, sharing the ups and downs, and I'm really excited to see where you guys go. I'm going to place a bet maybe in the next couple months, maybe let's say at the end of 2025, you guys will be somewhere close to maybe 20 stores, 30 stores. Let's hope we get there.
Let's go. I like it.
Knock on wood. Love it.
I really,
thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.